Absolutely. Talking of good fights, Vasyl Lomachenko going in against Teofimo Lopez, not on pay-per-view, as Bob Arum says. Not going to give Bob too much of a pat on the back. Same with Frank with Dubois against Joyce. If they could get away with pay-per-view, then they certainly, surely would do. When Rob Kelly first jumped on the call, he couldn't hear me, so he reconnected. Then he couldn't hear Andy, so he reconnected. Then he couldn't hear Ozzy. What stage are we at the moment, Rob?
Yeah, I was really hyped. What are we getting to Loma Lopez now? No, I've missed everything for the weekend anyway, so...
We're going straight on to Loma Lopez, Rob. I'm going to say to you, biggest fight of the year since Fury versus Wilder 2. And I'm going to give credit to Lopez. I don't think he's going to win, but I'm going to give him credit for pushing for this fight.
Yeah, I think he deserves massive credit. What's he had? 15, 16 fights, something like that. Not a seasoned pro by any stretch, but he's full of confidence. He believes in his own ability. And so far, he's been right. I'd say, looking down his record, there's a couple of tough opponents in it. Nothing that would certainly scare Lomachenko by any stretch. But it's the manner of the way he's been winning the fights, especially the ones by knockout. Now, I know the Japanese kid took him the distance, so I don't think that would bode well for him. While I've got a sneaky feeling for Teofimo Lopez in this fight, I don't know why, I don't know what it is.
Battle of the Fathers was the next note I had. Anatoly, quiet-spoken man, Ukrainian, against Teofimo Lopez's father. I think he's Teofimo Senior. Couldn't be any polar opposite, really. He's brash. He writes checks, doesn't he, for his son that he has to go in and cash?
Yeah, at the end of the day, look, I'm really looking forward to this fight because we'll get to the dads in a minute. I think Lopez Senior has done a lot of talking. And Papachenko always just he sits there quietly and stuff, never says much. I see they've got a documentary out now in Prime about him, so maybe worth a wee watch. Actually, maybe kind of sit and watch it. But yeah, I mean, look, Lopez has done really well talking up this fight. He's got everybody buzzing about it. At the end of the day, I'm seeing people out there wagering big money, thinking Lopez is going to turn the business and stuff like that. So he's really got the buzz going. Loma, he's been quiet as such. And at the end of the day, he said it himself, I'll let Lopez do the talking and stuff like that and build up the pay-per-view and all that type of stuff and that. But it is definitely possibly the best matchup of the year. Lopez is claiming he's a great boxer, so he claims anyway. But I think he needs to go back and kind of like think about what happened against Nakatani, for example, whereas it probably calls into question his mentality because maybe mentally weakest to a point because he didn't look good against Nakatani. He was struggling with the kind of long, tall guy, and he basically said after the fight that he was going to retire, and then he's not wanting to fight tall fighters, for example. He's got problems with the family after getting married and stuff. He didn't want to come home. He's crying and all that sort of stuff. So that to me suggests. I kind of go back to what I just said there. Boxing is 90% mental, and I think Lomachenko is so mentally strong, so mentally tough and stuff. I'm not saying he's invincible, obviously. I mean, anybody can go one punch. Anybody can go. We know this, and Lopez obviously has got that punching chance and stuff. But I just think his best chance to win this fight, because what I see is I'll pick out his flaws first. Anyway, I think Lopez carries the left hand too low, a bit like Floyd does, but Floyd can get away with it because he's so technically gifted and stuff. But then Lopez tries the shoulder roll as well as a kind of defensive measure, and then kind of tries to come back with the right hand. I don't think that's going to work with Lomachenko. I've not seen him Lopez fight many southpaws and stuff. Lopez Senior's thinking that all Lomachenko's going to do is move to the right. I did pick up on that. I think Loma would go to the right because of the low left hand. He could maybe ping in a right hook and kind of come in with a straight left hand and stuff, and then dance around about him. I do think Lopez is a bit stiff as such. I don't think he doesn't really work angles. He kind of comes forward in straight lines. He backs up in straight lines as well. I don't think his jab's too good. It's okay. He kind of throws it for the body and such, but I just think he needs to be kind of getting the hands up. I think he'll need to keep the hands up actually. It'll be interesting to see how he adopts to fight. I don't think he's going to try and outbox him. If he does, then I think he's have to try and think with Lomachenko. I don't think he really wants to be doing that. I think Loma's just technically on a different level. Totally. I just think Lopez's best chance might be to kind of like rough him up, step in there and try and use his natural strength. How much that's going to do him good, I don't know, because I know for a fact Lomachenko, I don't know if anybody's seen the Top Rank Blood, Sweat and Tears episode that came out there a couple of days ago.
No,
well, if you look at the scene on Lomachenko, actually, he's actually training with Dmitry Mitrofanov, who's a very, very accomplished amateur, strong, rugged, technically good middleweight. So if Lomachenko, who's a supposed so-called featherweight, is actually sparring and doing Greco-Roman wrestling with a middleweight and training and stuff like that, I think that just tells you where he's at and stuff. I just think Loma technically is superior, but obviously again you got to kind of wonder about the right hand. If Lopez elects to box, does he nullify his own advantages? He seems to be hungry. He's vocally called for the fight even before the Edis Tatley fight. He was coming for the Lomachenko fight. Well, he'll probably way heavier in the ring than Lomachenko on the night. He's certainly thicker, muscular-wise and stuff like that. He's got the power. Well, power to a degree. Obviously, we've seen him ice opponents and stuff, but if you look at the Richard Comey fight, people say, "Oh, he iced him. He knocked him out." No, he did. He knocked him down badly, and Comey got up off his feet. So I think that's something to kind of reference as well. People go back to, like, say, for example, Lomachenko getting dropped off Linares and stuff, but look,
he is susceptible to the right hand, isn't he? He said that himself on the Steve Kim podcast.
He can be. So obviously he needs to watch out for it. It was the right hand that dropped Comey actually pretty badly. I just think he's got to work on his jab more. He's got to, didn't go back in straight lines, Lopez. But again, I go back to the fact is, I think there's a bit of mental fragility about Lopez. I don't want to fight tall guys. I want to retire and stuff. So, to me, I think if Loma can work the business on him and stuff, I could see maybe a mercy stoppage stuff like that. But I'm thinking Lomachenko on points. I do think he'll have his moments where he's going to have a wee bit of struggle. I might have to kind of grapple and work angles stuff up. We've seen Lomachenko when he's in the clinch, he kind of like pulls himself free and he's back onto working that. I just want to see how Lomachenko's going to manoeuvre around about Lopez and stuff, and how he's going to nullify that right hand. And he'll need to watch out for the Lopez left hook as well, the lead left hook. So we'll wait and see how that kind of transpires and stuff. So so as I say, Lopez shoulder roll, don't get that kind of poverty, kind of Floyd, kind of shoulder roll that he's got and stuff. The weight, I'll be interested to see how Lopez makes the weight and stuff as well. So we'll wait and see how that goes. But I just think distance fight all over it. Can Lopez outthink Loma? Maybe no. Is he mentally stronger than Loma? Maybe no. Is he powerful than Loma? Yeah, I think so. It's intriguing, definitely intriguing, because I say one punch and he could go. We know Loma's fighting up at past his natural weight anyway. But he's seeking challenges, he's seeking tests, and people need to remember as well that Loma actually called out Lopez when he became world champion after going up against Comey. Another thing as well is what I did notice from the Edis Tatley fight was Tatley, who's got a good jab, actually marked up Lopez, was actually catching him. So outside of the belt, really, for Lomachenko, there's very little for him to gain outside of the belt here, because if he loses, he got beat off a 15-0 23-year-old kid. If he wins, Lopez is too young, he's too inexperienced, not that sort of shite. So I can just hear the excuses that's going to get made, like what happened with the Rigondo fight. So end of the day, people are jamming for this fight. So, but I didn't want to hear any change in the narrative after this fight. If Lomachenko schools him and absolutely embarrasses him, I think Lopez would probably quit the sport, because he's talked so much shit. And his dad, who, by the way, he's just a cheerleader. Can I just say that? Because he says, "Oh, Teofimo can do a million different things." Well, okay, I've watched a fair bit of his fights and footage and stuff like that. I've never seen him change it up or vary it up a wee bit. So I like to see what this million different things that he can do. I haven't seen him fully tested. I haven't seen him kind of like, banged up. I haven't kind of really get proper tested and stuff. So this could be a baptism, a proper baptism here, actually, and one that he may never recover from. But I'll tell you what, if he pulls it off next week, I'll be the first person on this podcast next week to sing his praises and say that we've got a new star in the sport, because I didn't want to hear anybody say either that Lomachenko's old or washed and all that sort of stuff if he gets knocked out.
Be a legitimate win.
Yeah, it's a legit win against one of the greatest fighters of this generation, one of the greatest amateurs of all time. So if Lopez wins, give him his credit. Similarly as well, if Loma wins, give him his credit as well, because this kid has talked it up. He's got all the jive behind him. He's got all the momentum and stuff. And the other thing as well is, I just going back to the mentality side of things and that as well, is I think when you seen after the Comey fight, Bob Arum's in the ring after the fight, and he's telling him, "Do not fuck this up." Now, I didn't know the context of that, but I think there's just something in the background. I'm not too sure about that, but if you look at the family situation, listen to what I've heard now about his mentality, he deals with anxiety and stuff like that. Well, I tell you, if he look, you're a boxer, right? And I know we're in an age now where we've got to discuss, especially in the kind of male sphere, about our mental health and all that sort of stuff. But you're a boxer. You do not show any weakness. And if you start saying that, listen, I'm struggling with anxiety and stuff like that, Lomachenko's rubbing his hands at that and says, right, okay, mentally I can get at him. I know I can break him down now. If he's mentally weak in any way, shape or form, Lomachenko will find a way to make him quit if he can just start kind of working him over on that. But outside of that, maybe a late stoppage as such, but I think the safe bet for me, I'm going to say Lomachenko in points. I'll go something like 116, 112. I'll be absolutely shocked if it's a shutout, because I think Loma will give Lopez his respect because he's power and that. But you never know, he might go in there, look at him, say like, you ain't got shit, man, and just kind of work him over and that. So we'll wait and see. There's a few things that might work here and that, but I just think Lomachenko, just his mentality, his training's on a different level. His dad leaves nothing to chance, and as I say, he's sparring middleweights at the minute. So Lomachenko, UD for me.
UD for Andy. We'll get a pick off all the boys. Throw your predictions in the chat if you wish. Yeah, he's got things going for him, old Lopez. He's 10 years younger, taller, bigger man. If he lands that right hand like Linares did, then you never really know. But if Lopez can't hurt him, it's unlikely he's going to outbox him, let's be honest. And Lomachenko has that huge advantage in experience. Aussie John Wayne said there, I think Teofimo Lopez has that special quality of being able to raise his game. I can see this being the start of something special. And this actually leads into something I mentioned last week, Oz. I liken this to sort of Canelo-Floyd situation. I wonder whether Lomachenko sees the potential, the talent, the future star power of Lopez, similar to the way Mayweather did, beat Canelo at that sort of stage in his career, and everything Canelo's done afterwards has helped to enhance not only Canelo's career, but also Floyd's as well. In that case, the pressure is definitely on Lomachenko here, and unless Lopez takes a career-ending beating, he's onto a winner in most respects.
Agree, and I like that analogy, but I wouldn't say the pressure's just on Lomachenko. As Andy said, Lopez has taught the talk, so he's got to impress, really. I mean, it's not going to look good, is he? Like we've seen it before, fighters come out, say this and say that, and then they get iced and they become a shadow of their former self. I actually think, look, when we know Lomachenko can be caught, and I think it was when he was dropped off Linares, but wasn't really hurt. And Linares is no slouch and can bang. Certainly think, Lopez is certainly the bigger guy. Do we see him outboxing him? Not at all. So I think Lopez has essentially got to try and take it to him. Vary it up, do something he's probably not done before. Because if you try and box ultimately the master, I just don't see it happening. I don't see him being able to do that for 12 rounds. Lomachenko's had all sorts of styles, abilities, qualities in there in that short pro career of sorts. So he's kind of been there, seen it, done it. Lopez is arguably coming off a career best performance and win when he knocked out Richard Comey. And it's not something I thought he would have done, particularly in that sort of fashion. But that saying, I think Lomachenko will have too much for him. I just think he's too schooled. And Lopez is maybe just a bit raw at the moment. 2 years down the line, it could be a completely different fight. But I think you've summed it up perfectly, Steve. A bit like the Mayweather Canelo situation. That Lomachenko can clearly see Lopez's qualities, and he's thinking now, well, I take it now, and I back myself to go and win with my skills, experience. 2 years time, I'm 2 years older. I've got more miles on the clock against a hungry fighter coming up, and he's always improving. It might well be a hell of a lot different. So yeah, I see Lomachenko. I think he'll stop him, and I think he'll stop him between 8 and 10 rounds. And I think it'll be the precision of punching, and I think he'll break down Lopez. I I think
Like a
Lopez,
Nicholas Walters thing. Do you think Lopez, after about 6 rounds, when he suddenly the realization of what it's like to fight Lomachenko, and he can't do
yes,
anything, and he's struggling to have success, and all of a sudden he's like,
exactly that.
it's been a lot more difficult in these last 15 fights than this.
Yeah, and I was going to say that I think he'll have, like he might have, like occasional success, but I think Lomachenko will be quick to adjust, and he'll start to nullify everything he does. And I think it'll be a combination of, like a mental breakdown, like everything he tries and it's not working. And look, we always say that it's not just, like the physical aspect, but a mental aspect as well. That can be draining on you as well. Because imagine you get to the halfway point and you think, I have tried fucking everything here and it's not working. Like, what the fuck do I do? And I think it'll be a combination of physically, mentally, as well as Lomachenko's, like boxing IQ and his precision. And I think he'll just wear Lopez down. And again, look, if I get it wrong, fair fucks to the guy, because it will be a huge, huge win. But we've always said a loss does not define a career. Lopez is young enough, to if he suffers a defeat, he can more than come back and still go on to achieve huge, huge things. But for me, to finish, I think Lomachenko will just have too much, and I think it'll be another impressive win, and I think he'll do it in fine fashion.
Just before I bring you back in, Andy, Rob, I want to go to you, actually. Just following on the Lomachenko-Canelo sort of dynamic. You've got Lomachenko here taking a pay cut, looking to unify, fighting a young up-and-comer. You've got Canelo fighting in the courts rather than the ring, trying to get a guaranteed $35 million. Are we on Team Lomachenko here rather than the prima donna?
Oh, definitely. I think Lomachenko's shown since he came in the sport that he's willing to find anyone or to fight anyone. I think he's been detracted from unfairly because of some of the matchmaking. People say, he got Walters off a long layoff. Rigondo was coming up weight classes to fight him and stuff, but none of that's his fault. Like, he's gone for he fights Orlando Salido in his second pro fight, going for a title, and got a baptism of fire that night, and adjusted midway through that fight, and since that fight he hasn't looked bad and knocked down to Linares. Linares is the only one that's given him a close fight. Let's be honest, in his 15 pro fights, he's only had two close fights, Salido and Linares, so that's not a bad out. Just in terms of this fight, I didn't get to actually talk about it. I think it dropped off, but Andy, I was pointing to the Japanese kid as well. I think that doesn't bode too well for him if you're looking to beat Lomachenko, but I have a sneaky feeling for Lopez in this fight. I don't know why. Sometimes I just get these notions, but I just thought everything about him wanting to make this Lomachenko fight is, as much as his dad, Angel Garcia 2.0, the kid himself seems to be wanting to take challenges. I mean, he could have easily, obviously the ESPN fight is easy to make the boat with Aaron, but he could be calling out Haney, he could be calling out Tank Davis, that are two easier fights for him. But he's wanting to go for Lomachenko. He sees, you have to take into consideration Lomachenko's hundreds of amateur fights and his pro fights. So he's had a short pro career, but he's had 4 or 5 different amateur careers over and over, on 2 Olympic gold medal runs. So there is going to be wear and tear on Lomachenko, and he is going to slow down eventually. I don't think he's going to hang around to the kind of same age as Manny Pacquiao and plus be around in his late 30s. I'm sure he could if he wanted to be, but I don't think he'll operate for too much longer. I think we're kind of seeing him hit his peak. I think we've seen Lomachenko hit his peak already, and while he's still head and shoulders above everybody else, while he's in slight regression, I think there has been some signs. Now you got to reach for them because he's almost perfect, but I think there's been some signs of regression for him, especially at lightweight. Lopez big at the weight, massive puncher, and as well as that, I think you have to factor into the equation now Joey Gamachi's inputs, because he's been with him since the Commie fight, hasn't he? So I don't think he was with him in when he had the Japanese card, but he's been there as assistant trainer to the Da. Now we saw Otto Wallin do a lot better than expected against Tyson Fury and actually be in that fight, which none of us thought he would be after seeing him since he started training with Gamachi. So he knows his stuff, good trainer, learned under Manny, very knowledgeable fella, and they're supremely confident. So I think it's going to go one or two ways. I think Lopez is actually going to just go out and Father Time's going to be against Lomachenko and he just gets blasted out, or Lomachenko puts on the thorough clinic and wins by UD. I don't think he's going to stop him. although he probably could. So intriguing. I don't know. Like, I can't call this fight for sure. I have a sneaky feeling that Lopez is going to do something more than a lot of people think. But if you put a gun to my head, I'd say Lomachenko, you do. But yeah, intriguing fight. Definitely the best fight of the year since Fury Wilder 2. And just the fight we need. You know, we need this. Like, we need big stars to kind of come and test Lomachenko. We need definitive fights for him. You know, we need somebody to give him some adversity in fight as well to show his true greatness. So it's a brilliant opportunity for both of them. I get the no win thing for Loma, but as well as that, like, if he goes out and dominates this guy next Saturday, you're going to have to start giving him his flowers while he's around to smell him, like, because he is one of the greatest. Like, get out of the neighbour's garden, the dog will stop barking. Oh, chill out. Watch out, Bill Burr. Chill out there with your zingers.
I love Bill Burr.
Oh, we're going to relax there, pal, with the one-liners. Okay, hell, we'll do that, man, right? But, no, it's a brilliant fight, man. I cannot wait for this fight. It was so hyped, and like I said, you know, you get Zepeda, Baranchik to kind of to pique your interest again when things are going shit. But apart from Povetkin, White, lockdown boxing has been shite. Oh, one of the other things I wanted to make reference to that I think could be an important factor, especially for Lopez, no crowd. So you don't have the under the light the last couple of weeks when things are behind closed doors, when there's no pressure from the crowd whatsoever. You know, that's a factor in any sport at the top level, doing it under the lights. And if you just have to go in and fight Lomachenko behind closed doors, would you prefer, if you're the underdog fighting Lomachenko, would you prefer to fight him in a packed Barclays Center or Madison Square Garden, or would you like to fight him behind closed doors? Like, so I think that could be a factor too. We're all, I don't know if it could be a factor, but it's all very interesting and makes it very intriguing.
Yeah, Andy, I mentioned before about Fury Wilder 2, best fight since then. You got the Charlo pay-per-view, obviously. You had Leo Santa Cruz against Gervonta Davis coming up, White Povetkin 2, Garcia Campbell. For such a bad year, it looks like it is picking up a little bit, and we are going to have some decent fights. Obviously, Baranchik against Zepeda as well came the other week. So the year's looking a little bit better, Andy. I think you wanted to talk about Lopez's attitude, though.
No, well, it's not so much attitude. I mean, well, maybe a wee bit, yeah. I mean, he's moaning here, for example. You know, he says that hate's a strong word. I'm not going to hate it in my heart, but he says I hate Lomachenko, how he kind of conducts himself and carries himself when he speaks to people. If anybody remembers my comments on the podcast maybe a couple of years ago when I met Loma in Germany, I told you guys there's an element of arrogance comes off Lomachenko. Look, I get it. Look, Lomachenko is like 400 odd fucking amateur fights. He is pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world just now and stuff like that. Look, I get it. You know, if I was that guy, look, it would be so hard to keep your fucking ego in check. That's when you need your real mates to say, listen, just rein it in a wee bit. But end of the day, look, when I met Loma, I asked him for a picture, right? And I didn't really do much with fighters and stuff like that. I asked for a picture, and he did. He just kind of nodded his head over and nodded his head like to say, like, come over here, right? And he gave me the picture, no problem at all. And I said to myself, yeah, look, I get it, the wee bit of arrogance. And when Lopez said that, look, it rung straight home to me. But at the end of the day, look, you're really going to hate on a guy because his ego. Remind me again, what did Lopez do when he's knocking out fighters like he's digging holes for him and stuff like that, you know, and jumping about like a maniac and doing acrobatics in the ring and stuff like that. So it wouldn't be like Lopez not to kind of like be arrogant if he was to win a fight against someone like that, for example. So just thought I want to bring that up. For a reason to hate a guy for being arrogant, look at yourself in the mirror, mate. Just look at yourself in the mirror.
That's like the people that hate Michael Jordan because he was a bit arrogant. You know what I mean?
I know, the greatest of all time, bro.
Greatest fucking guy to ever do. Of course, he's got to be arrogant when he's fucking looking at fellas with inferior skills. Like he's looking at him with disdain. Like, but yeah, I always got that from Lomachenko too. It's a pity, I think, that his English is not as great. I think he could. I said that before. I think he could be a bigger star if people could actually read his true personality. I do think he has a massive degree of arrogance about him, which is obviously as well totally deserved. Like some of the things the guy does in the ring we've never seen before. So yeah, I can completely understand that he's arrogant, but I think it'd be a better selling point for him as a kind of a fucking pantomime villain if he could actually communicate that a little bit better.
Okie doke, I know everybody's made their predictions, but we'll go back again through the panel so everyone can shit on us next week and say that they got it right and we got it wrong. I'm just looking through the chat here, see if anybody's made any predictions. I don't know what the hell they're talking about, but there's not too much Loma chat going on here.
Anybody picking Lopez at all? Anybody in the chat picking Lopez?
Somebody did, Andy. Somebody said Lopez knockout within 6. I can't find it now.
I tell you what, mate, I was in boxing scene forum today. I've not been in a forum for years, but I went on today just to kind of have a look at because I was prepping for this and that. The amount of people who are absolutely putting money on Lopez, who are convinced he's going to win this and stuff like that and win it well, it's actually quite scary. And that. So this is what's really, as I say, it's hyped the fight a bit. Lopez, he's done his bit actually. He's carried the promotion. As Rob says, Lomachenko's English isn't great. He's getting better than that, but Lopez has carried this promotion. He's talked all the shit. So once you talk the talk, it's now time to walk the walk. And it could be a heavy, arduous, rough and weary road for Lopez. He's going to walk actually if he doesn't get this right.
So you're going for unanimous decision, Andy. You think Lopez might win about 3 or 4 rounds as much as?
I think Lopez will be in the fight. Again, it depends what kind of mood Loma's in, and if Loma comes out to make a statement, I could definitely see a stoppage. I could see a quit as well. But I'm going to take the safe option. Say Loma's going to win it wide on points. People need to remember as well. People shit on the triangle threes and that about Linares getting brought into the conversation and that as well. People need to remember Lomachenko actually done his shoulder in that fight, I believe, and still fucking stopped Linares in that fight. So people need to stop with these triangle theories and using Linares as some sort of kind of like say, oh, he wasn't an elite fighter and stuff. People need to kind of like weigh it up with the facts now. Loma actually had to go for surgery after that fight. He's had problems with his hands and that as well. And he's fighting way above his best weight, yet he's still schooling these guys and going into these fights. People mention Luke Campbell, for example, and that, but that might be the fact is it's not a challenge as such. But this fight, I think, with the shit that Lopez has spoken, I think Loma might pick up his game a wee bit more, just to kind of like put the young pretender in his place and say, look, I am Lomachenko, you will fucking yield to me, and I think that might be a wee element that to it and that. But I'm saying Lomachenko wide on points, possibly a quit. But again, as I say, I don't want anybody to say
quitting.
Lopez quitting.
I don't think Lopez is going to quit, man. I honestly don't.
We'll wait and see. There's just something that I'm seeing in him, that the way he's talking and that. I don't know. I study people and that as well. It's part of my job and that. I don't know what it is. There's just something there. Sorry, but
you should study that panel, Andy. That'll keep you going for a few weeks.
I didn't want to, mate. Listen, I didn't want to. But you know what I mean, though.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's fine. That's Andy. Yeah, I'm going for Lomachenko as well. But my predictions aren't worth a carrot. Everybody knows that. I think Lopez is going to push him all the way. I think Lomachenko will have that extra added bit of class and he'll win maybe 116, 112, maybe even as close as a 115, 113. I think Lopez isn't going to be that easily discouraged. I think as I said to Ozzy, the reality of Lomachenko is going to be a lot different from what he thinks, and he's going to get picked off at times. I think he's going to keep pitching. He might even knock him down at a point. I don't think Lopez is going to quit. I think he'll keep going for the knockout. He'll believe in his power, Ozzy, right till the very last bell, and keep pushing Lomachenko, and he's going to give him one hell of a fight, I think. But Lomachenko ultimately to come out on points. What do you think?
I actually think Lomachenko will break Lopez down, and as we said before, Steve, I think the realization will hit Lopez at the midway point, and everything he's tried has just had no real effect, to no avail, and I think it'd be more mentally tiring rather than physically tiring, and the precision, he's no slouch with his power as well, Lomachenko. I think he'll break him down and he'll get the stoppage between 8 and 10 rounds.
Oh, Jason Chukwu, just in time. I can talk now, says Jason. That's a good revelation. Breaking news, Rob. Jason Chukwu can talk. We're only interested in what you've got to say. What's your prediction, Rob?
Yeah, I'm to and fro, man. I don't like Lomachenko should beat Teofimo Lopez every day of the week, realistically on paper. Too much experience, too much ability, can dig nasty to the body, can show that he can adjust in a fight and can overcome adversity in a fight. All stuff that we haven't seen from Lopez thus far. But I don't know. I just have a sneaky feeling that this is going to be the night where Loma gets old and there's a new lion in town. So I can't give a definitive pick, but I mean, just for the sake of argument here, I'm gonna go with Lopez.
Rapping Rob Kelly. 3-1 then in Lomachenko's favour. Rob is putting himself out there